Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And I want to do a special video today about Chinese democracy. So when the album came out in 2008, one thing that was going on, Velvet Revolver had broken up, and a lot of the guys or ex-members of Guns N' Roses were constantly being asked, what do you guys think of Chinese democracy? What are your thoughts on the song? What are your thoughts on the album? And I wanted to give you guys an overview of what the other members thought of the album when it came out, because you have to remember that Axl was still on bad terms with Slash and Duff and Matt Sorum, and it was kind of an awkward question, but what did the guys respond to whenever they were asked that question? So it was revealed that Izzy Stradlin actually revealed his thoughts on the album. So on November 14, 2008, he was doing an interview with Punk.bz, and he said that I've listened to some of the tracks off the record and I enjoyed them. As to whether the former bandmate and sole remaining Guns N' Roses member Axl Rose was responsible for the breakup of the classic lineup, Stradlin said Axl is a very complicated guy but very talented. So Izzy didn't really say anything else beyond that, but he basically said that he enjoyed, he listened to some of the tracks off the record and he enjoyed it. It's also important to note that Izzy probably had a better relationship than the other members did with Axl, because he had performed with Axl, on a number of shows in 2006, and this was only 2 years later.
Everybody asked me that. I listened to it before it came out, and I thought it was the perfect record for him. It's exactly what I would imagine it would be, and that's basically it. So, I mean, as far as making a personal statement, which sums up why everything else happened, it's the perfect album. And it's got some good stuff on it. I think it's almost a cliche now, but we always say it's just great. He's got a great voice, and it's great to hear his voice. The rest of it is what it is, but it's one of those things where you hear his voice and just go, that's fucking great.
So in another interview Slash did, he called Chinese democracy a great statement. So a couple of months before the record came out, he said, I already listened to it, Slash revealed during a recent interview. At first I thought I would never listen to it until it's released, but someone handed it to me and it was in my car. I was in my car and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So I listened to it. It's a really good record. It's very different from what the original Guns N' Roses sounded like, but it's a great statement by Axl. Now you understand where he was headed all this time. It's a record that the original Guns N' Roses could never possibly make, and at the same time it just shows you how brilliant Axl is, so it was a relief to actually hear it. So around that time, 9 tracks off the album already leaked onto the internet, and Slash had harsh words for the perpetrator. He said, when somebody takes somebody's work and releases it prematurely just to become famous, it's an incredibly selfish and criminal thing to do. A record is a piece of art and it shouldn't be released until the creator decides to release it, and I don't care how long it took to make. Slash also went on to criticize the leaker once again, saying that he hopes he rots in jail, and that the fact that the guy leaked the album would be unfair because it would impact record sales. So the blogger who actually leaked some of the tracks off Chinese democracy, his name was Kevin Squirrel Kogel, and he actually responded to Slash. So after he got in trouble with law enforcement, he was apparently aware of the comments that Slash made, saying that he hopes he rots in jail. And basically he responded by saying, I found that surprisingly crass, especially considering the guy has made no bones about shoplifting cassette tapes with the same rationale as today's downloaders. So if he wants to see me in jail, I'll see him in the cafeteria. So Duff Mckagan was also interviewed about Chinese democracy about a couple months after the album came out, and he shared his thoughts on the album too. Here's what he had to say.
No, I can't. So last we spoke, Chinese democracy was about to come out, and you said you hadn't heard any of it. Have you heard the album now?
I have.
What do you think?
Excuse me. It's a great record. It's great. Axl sings his ass off. Great, songwriting, and I'm Axl. I guess finally made the record he wanted to make, and that's important. Sometimes people get wrapped up in, I guess commercial. People. There's a lot of expectation behind that record, and I know, on the other side of the curtain, just being a musician and a songwriter, you just want the best of the song, and you you can't be responsible for how other people view your music and et cetera, et cetera. And so I look at songs and music that way, and I think he did a great job. Yeah.
Lastly, let me ask you about your...
So Duff Mckagan was also interviewed by Ask Men later on in the year, and he was asked about Chinese democracy. So he was asked, what do you think of Chinese democracy? And he said, it's funny, so many people have asked me that question, and I got to figure out why people think my opinion matters. I think Axl Rose did a great job on that record, and other than that, the songs and the band are a completely different thing. So for me to really comment on the band, I might as well be commenting on the new Slipknot record. It's far removed from me. We, referring to Guns N' Roses, made our last record in 92 or 93 or something. That was 16 years ago. That was a lifetime ago for me. I'm still using stuff back then, so that's how long it was for me. It's great Chinese democracy. There are songs on it that I like, and there are songs on it that I don't like, just like any other record. And then Matt Sorum was interviewed about the title track. I don't think he ever gave his thoughts on the full album, at least not that I could find, but here's what he had to say about the single released from the album, Chinese Democracy.
Speaking of GNR, what do you think about Chinese democracy?
I think it's cool.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, I heard the single. I haven't heard the album. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with the single. I liked the way it was mixed. Outros sounded great. It wasn't a song I worked on 15 years ago. I don't remember that one.
Is any album really worth waiting that long for? Do you think this is going to live up to expectations?
It's a long time. We'll see how it goes.
And then Matt Sorum was interviewed by TMZ the same month that Chinese Democracy came out, and he was on his way to catch his flight from LA to Toronto, and he was asked about Chinese Democracy, and Sorum sort of hesitated for a few seconds, replying, "It's a toe tapper." So that's all he had to really say about that. And then here's what Steven Adler had to say about the album. So, on the fact that many people, including Adler, argued that his Guns N' Roses replacement, Matt Sorum, could never fill those shoes, he said, yeah, I know that, and all the other guys know that. It's just Axl doesn't want to admit it. That's why the songs work, because of all five of us. Use Your Illusion would have been bigger than Appetite for Destruction if it was recorded the way the demo tape sounded, but every record they did with less members sold less and less. On Chinese Democracy, the latest Guns N' Roses record, that's essentially Axl Rose and a revolving door of other guys. So he said he should have called it War, W Axl Rose. It only went gold, and that's not Guns N' Roses. They go double platinum in the first week. And then in another interview Steven Adler did, he was asked about Chinese Democracy. The interviewer asked, did you enjoy Chinese Democracy? He said, not one bit. I didn't recognize Axl's voice on it. There's occasional parts where he does his loud scream, but I didn't even know it was him. So even ex-Guns N' Roses guitarist Gilby Clarke offered his opinion of Chinese Democracy in early 2009. So he was recently asked by a fan if he'd heard the new album Chinese Democracy and what he thought of it. He said, yes, I listened to it on a long drive to Phoenix, Arizona. Gilby replied, I think it's very good and very imaginative. Axl Rose's vocals sound great, and there's some creative guitar playing on it also, but there was too many slow to mid-tempo songs on it for my taste, and some of the solos are a little overdone. They don't match the song. Some of the lyrics are a little redundant. I expected some resolution since it's taken so long. So we even had Axl's former bandmate Tracii Guns comment on Chinese Democracy. So he said in 2009 that Chinese Democracy is not a brilliant Guns N' Roses release. So he said, I'm 43 and I don't hold the torch for metal. I don't subscribe to the thought that if it's too loud, you're too old. I've never been that guy. He also went on to say Chinese Democracy is not a brilliant Guns N' Roses record, in my opinion. I really love Guns N' Roses, and there's a certain thing. They made such an impact on music, and for me, I expected a certain type of music. When you get big, you kind of get cornered into that, you know. I think if you really analyze it, you'll realize Axl's performance is really amazing and very believable, and his singing is as good as ever, for sure on that record. The choice of styles and the music part, I think that's overindulgent, sterile, and not that exciting. I have listened to it a few times and nothing really captures me, confesses Guns. When I heard Saints of Los Angeles by Motley Crue, I thought it was a home run. So I thought that's what Motley Crue sounds like, and I think the record really sticks true to what a typical Motley Crue fan would expect of that. So that does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts were on Chinese Democracy when you first heard it, and maybe when you heard the leaks over the years. Leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses and you want to see more videos just like this. And you guys can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, as well as you support me on Patreon. The links to all those things are down below in the description box. Take care.